All right, welcome back to another episode of Leah's Lens, where I, Leah Swander, interview authors as well as review books. And today we have the lovely, lovely Dana Gunn with us. She is the director of programming at Self Publish in 30 Days, Hippie Gal, as she self-titles in her chapter in Visionistas, and a published author. And I don't know if you have any other books besides Visionistas that you published or chapters that you've written, but tell us about Dana. Who is Dana Gunn behind
Absolutely.
the book?
Well, and actually, Visionistas, the chapter in Visionistas is the first thing that I've actually published since high school, so I'm not going to count all that. I am a mom, a sister, Gigi. I have several grandchildren. I am a kind of a free spirit. As I mentioned in my bio, I do live on a renovated school bus. I live on a schoolie, which I just love. And I am the programming director for Self Publish in 30 Days, as well as administrative assistant. And yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Oh my goodness. You're like living my dream. I would love to live in a bus. I love it.
It's so much fun.
Yeah. How long did it take you to renovate it, or did you buy it renovated?
I actually have my boyfriend is Mr. Fix It, and he had it partially done, and then we finished the rest of it out together.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, it's like my dream. I've been looking at vans and everything, so I'm totally here for it. So yeah, you have a chapter in Visionistas, Women Who Think Outside the Box, and yours was the first chapter I read in the whole thing, and it was crazy because in the chapter you say like, what if this is your sign? And I was like, this is totally my sign. Like, oh my goodness. So it's called Signs of the Universe. And I want to just know, like, what was the calling behind that? What was like your sign? I mean, you kind of talk about it in the chapter, but was there anything like, more to that or made you really want to just write about the signs of the universe?
Well, I'll start out by saying there's a big joke between myself and Stephanie Palmer that I literally started this chapter and I've rewritten it. I wrote a completely different chapter and I had it almost done, and it was like 3 or 4 rewrites and it wasn't really jiving, but I had it almost done. And the day before I was going to turn it in, I was listening to some TED Talks, which I do. It's kind of one of my things. And there was a lady on TED Talks doing a TED Talk over making a move in her life that she was afraid to make. And she was just getting all of these signs. And I just heard in my head, you should actually talk about how you got where you are, how your life changed so much. So that was my sign. And so I totally rewrote the chapter, turned it in the next morning, and that's what you read.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. It was such a good chapter, and um it like actually spoke to me a lot. I feel like you kind of talked about, the life path you were on and like this like slump you're in and you're just like didn't know how to get out of it almost. And that's totally where I was at a point in my life where I was just like what's worth it anymore, like how do you even find the strength to get out of bed or something like that. And so that chapter I just got goosebumps. That chapter really, really resonated with me. And so I was so happy for you to share it. And oh my gosh, I'm so glad you did. You almost didn't. So
Yeah.
I would love to hear the other chapter though that you had written. Is that
I'm sure that it'll be coming out at some time. There are probably 6 different, 6 different topics that I'd start to write on and be like, throw that away. No, that one's not. I don't like that. So,
oh my goodness,
this was the one. And
yeah. So this is like your first chapter that you've written, first published thing you have out. So did you ever picture yourself like writing or being a published author or being kind of in this business that we are both in of publishing?
Well, my mom was an English teacher and a speech teacher and a drama teacher. So, and that's always been my love. I love, math gives me a headache. That's what I say. Numbers give me a headache, but words, yeah, math's like trying to smell purple. But words, words are my thing. I love words. I love to learn. I love to write. Music and words, those are my love languages.
Oh, I love that.
So, I've always written, I've always journaled. My sister gave me my first journal when I was 14. And so I've been journaling and writing for quite some time. And it's just kind of, I never thought that I would publish anything really. I've dreamed about it, everyone has, or anyone who likes to write. But it's been a wonderful, that's actually one of the signs. It's been a wonderful opportunity to be where I know I'm supposed to be with a team that I know I'm supposed to be working with, and being able to do the things that I love and create.
Yeah, I feel like you really have a position to be creative, and that's so important. And especially both you and I mean, I journaled. My grandmother actually gave me a bunch of journals. That was like our Christmas present every year. She'd give us journals,
Oh, wow.
Kind of like, yeah, like you were saying. And, it's for me, it's therapeutic, and it's just like, that's how I get all this stuff happening in my brain out.
I'd never get anything done if I didn't write it down. And I have some crazy stuff that, you might write it down and it sounds nuts. And then later you come back and you go, oh yeah, I have an idea.
Yep. Yeah. I'll be like on my notes app, and sometimes it doesn't make sense what I wrote down. So I have to sit there and think about it. Like, what was I inspired by? And then, it turned into a different idea or something like that.
Yeah.
But
well, and I love the way that the creativity can just flow. And it may be what you started out with, but it ends up being something absolutely amazing, even though it wasn't your original vision.
Totally. Yeah. I, not to get off topic, but I just have to mention this. I am a big fan of Elizabeth Gilbert, and she has a book called Big Magic. And it's about how, we are creative beings, and we should be creating way more than we're consuming. And I will go back into that book and just like try to find inspiration when I'm feeling like in a slump. But now I got a new chapter to go back to Envisionistas Volume 2. Oh my gosh, I just got goosebumps again. Oh, signs from the universe.
I really do love that. Before I wrote the chapter, I sent a quick text to my friend Cheryl, who I mentioned in the chapter, who happens to be in my other life when I'm not at Self Publishing 30 Days. I am on the board of directors for the Woody Guthrie Folk Festival, and I'm the artist sales director there. And I've been working with Cheryl since I started volunteering there, and went to my first Woody Guthrie Fest about, 15, 16 years ago.
Wow.
And I had sent her a quick text to say, Cheryl, I remember the story you told me when Mary Jo died, Mary Jo Guthrie Edgman, who was Woody Guthrie's little sister. We were after her funeral. We were all sitting around having lunch, and Cheryl had told me the story that I share in my chapter about when she was at her lowest. And Mary Jo, she finally came to her and said, okay, it's been long enough. You've been sad, and it's okay to be sad, but it's time to get up out of your slops and stop wallowing in your slops. And so I texted Cheryl and I said, is it okay if I share that story? Because I feel like there are other people who might need to hear it, because sometimes we do. When you're feeling down and all you do is you seem to feel sorry for yourself and question, I thought I was supposed to be here, but I don't know, and maybe I should give up. And, you just don't know what to do. And the feeling sorry for yourself can really take over.
Yeah, sounds like Mary Jo and Cheryl are true friends. I think sometimes you have the friends that tell you what you want to hear, and then you got true friends that tell you what you need to hear.
And that's what Cheryl said. She was like, Miss Mary Jo, she knew what I needed to hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
She said, I thought, oh my gosh, how rude. And then Oh, well, no, I actually am just kind of laying here wallowing around,
Right. She has a
wallowing
point.
in my misery.
Right, right.
Poor me.
Yeah, so you mentioned, Cheryl, Mary Jo, and even your mom, your grandmother, maybe, or maybe it was your mom.
My sister.
Your sister.
My mom's
Okay.
an English teacher, but my sister gave me the journals and started me on
Okay.
journaling.
I knew it was somewhere in the family. So I think probably all of those people inspired you, but is there one specific person that you just like pinpoint of like this was a big source of my inspiration?
I have so many inspiring, strong women in my life.
Cool.
Friends, my best friend, one of my best friends in the world, has a son who's autistic, nonverbal autistic, and she every day, is a battle. And so I think, she's so strong, and I look to her for her grace. She's always so sweet and smiling and kind to everyone. My sister, who is 18 years older than me, so she's kind of like my mom.
I have a sister like that too. That's crazy.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. My daughters. I get a lot of inspiration from my daughters. I have 5 girls, and they're all grown, and they have 4 of them have children of their own, and one of them has a cat, so you have a grandkitten.
Dana, we're almost living the same life. I have 4 older sisters.
They are. It's amazing.
That's crazy.
I watch my girls, and what they do every day is just an inspiration to me. And then, all my friends who are so strong, and Mary Jo, who was a self-professed optimist, an official optimist. She put the official optimist creed on her memorial flyer because she was an optimist. So, just women like that. I have so many people that I look up to. It's hard to name just one.
I think that's so cool too, of like that you said you look up to, because I feel like when we say like who do you look up to, it's like you have to be like 8 talking about you look up to like your heroes or something. But
Who said I'm not?
Right. Yeah, you talk about that about your inner child. I love that in your chapter. Yeah, always looking up to people, even that are shorter than you or that are older than you. I think that's or younger than you. I think that's amazing.
Yeah. I think if you just will open your eyes and your heart, there's inspiration out there.
Totally.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Yeah, like you said, you got to open your heart to it, because I think a lot of times, sometimes I'll have this like not necessarily a writer's block, but just this like block of like I'm not really feeling motivated, I'm not feeling inspired, and then I realize that I'm not even looking around me to like be inspired. So sometimes you just got to like be vulnerable enough to let the inspiration come to you.
Right.
So I love that. So you've published this chapter. What's the future of your story? Are you going to publish more? I hope to hear about that chapter that you wrote but didn't actually put in Visionistas. Which are you going to do like a self-titled book, or what's the story in the future?
I have actually there's a lot in here. There's a lot. There's some stuff that it will only ever be for me. But I've always considered maybe sharing some of my poetry. And we'll see what it feels like I'm supposed to write.
Yeah.
Usually, honestly, usually I
know
know when I feel it, when I know that I'm supposed to do it. And sometimes it takes that little push. I appreciate my chief book officer for giving me that little push and letting me know that I was going to write a chapter, because this came out of it.
Yeah. So speaking of that, how has like publishing this story that you just kind of like did on a whim, wasn't what you were planning on publishing, how has that changed your life? Maybe spiritually, physically, emotionally?
Well, I was already in a place where I was beginning to explore and remember my vulnerability and be able to uh, share that and express it. I've always been an emotional person, and so being in a space where um, I'm have learned to do that and becoming more and more comfortable with just being myself and being in a space where that's welcomed and where uh, my woo woo is appreciated.
I love that term.
It's celebrated. You know, it's okay not to. It's okay to think outside the box.
Mm-hmm.
Being in a place where it's okay to think outside the box, you're encouraged to embrace your passion of what you do well. That's been a really wonderful experience, and it's been able to open me up to be able to share and to feel comfortable sharing more.
Right. Yeah, I think also it's like kind of this law of attraction thing, right? Like if we put ourselves in these vulnerable situations and we just kind of send it, we just say, you know what, I'm not going to care about, what I think they're going to think about it. It kind of brings you into, a space or people surrounding you that, want to see you win and want to see you, just thrive in whatever makes you happy. And so it almost just takes that like first step of just kind of saying, okay, you know what, I'm gonna be a little vulnerable here. And the universe, in my eyes, the universe will always repay you. It's always on your side.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I believe that the universe knows what's for you.
Totally.
And it's trying to give it to you, or God, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same thing.
Right.
He wants you to be happy and to have what you're supposed to have and have the things that are for you and only you and no one else.
Yes.
And so if you can take your brain out of it and simply say, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I know this is what I'm supposed to do, then the universe says, oh, finally.
Right.
Okay, so here's the door. I've been had it right here all this time.
Yeah.
Big sign. It's flashing. Okay, here it is. Just come through this door. And you come through the door, and then there's the table for you full of everything you could ever want. So yeah, I totally believe that that's out there. If you will just admit that I don't know what I'm doing. And if I fail, that's okay. I can try something else.
I love that. Yeah, there's no need to, be so afraid of failure. That's the only thing holding you back is your fear. And majority of the time when you try something out, you're not even going to be fearful anymore because you're going to realize how great it was. And if it wasn't great, move on to the next thing.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Oh, well, that didn't work. Okay, let's try something new.
Exactly. So I kind of want to get your take on, because this is a co-authored project, so there's about like 13 other women who are in this book. And what was that like, kind of collaborating with all of these like strong, inspiring women? Was that like such a surreal experience?
To be honest, none of us spoke to each other before.
I love it.
That I know of. We didn't discuss, what our chapters were going to be about. We just knew that it was women who think outside the box and inspiration. And so we had a conference after, a virtual conference for Visionistas too. And we all met for the first time virtually. And the women in this book, my co-authors are amazing. They're so strong. And we were all speaking to each other. It's like, oh, your chapter spoke to me so much. I really love what you're doing. And your vision for life, and they're like, oh my gosh, no, yours was so great. I didn't really think mine was yours was awesome. It was a mutual appreciation society, and we had so much fun, and they are wonderful, amazing women who are doing some amazing things. It was so much fun to have written with them, and I'm honored to be in the book with them.
Right. Yeah, that's so amazing that you say you haven't, like, none of you spoke before this, because it seems like the whole book is very cohesive, and it's like, oh, they're all kind of in the same space. It's the signs of the universe speaking to us, isn't it?
Exactly. They all just kind of. I had the joy of being in the room with the editors while they were editing, and one of them turned to me and said, "Did you read any of these other chapters before?" Yeah, I was like, "Nope." She said, "This is really, really odd, and that's just supposed to come out, and that's what happens when people are doing what they're supposed to do." But it is an amazing book.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess, like, kind of to wrap things up, what would you recommend to people who are thinking about sharing what's on their heart, and kind of just being vulnerable and thinking about publishing, but maybe not, kind of going back and forth? I know you've dropped so many gems in the past 20 minutes, but what's like one last piece of advice you'd give to them?
Just do it. If you feel like you're supposed to do it, do it. Don't be afraid that no one will want to hear it. Get rid of the imposter syndrome. There's someone out there who needs to hear what you have to say. So don't be afraid. Jump off the ledge, pick up your pen, pick up your laptop, whatever you want to do. I like to write pen and paper because I'm old school like that, but it feels good to me to write that way. But just do it. Just write your story, share your story. I promise there's someone out there that you'll be able to help, whether you think so or not. And it repays. It's so worth it to hear that you were able to touch someone or give them some hope in a time when they didn't have any, or let them know that it was okay to cry. Whatever it is you have to share, please share it. There's someone out there who needs to hear it.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that. Dana Gunn, thank you so much for joining us on Leah's Lens. If you're joining from Author Spotlight or Power of Story, thank you for joining us. You can all go get Visionistas Volume 2, Women Who Think Outside the Box, a collection of inspirational stories on Self-Published in 30 Days website. Dana's chapter, I don't know what number your chapter is, but it's on page 107. I have it bookmarked. It's seriously amazing. Go support Dana. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on, Leah. I really appreciate it. I've enjoyed it.
Yes, thank you. All right, we'll see you next time on Leah's Lens.